Canelo Crawford. I know what you feel about Canelo, but what do you feel about that particular fight? Which it sounds like it probably took 100 to 150 million,
Yeah.
maybe each, in
I
order for Turkey to
it
get that fight.
doesn't it doesn't really listen. It's going to be a fight that people want to watch again because again, it's something that people generate and talk about. Canelo's very popular. At this point, he's if he fights my sneaker, it's going to generate a million pay-per-views, right? So um, I I was originally thinking Crawford might be too small. I think Crawford is a way more complete fighter than Canelo ever was. I think Crawford is just the only risk here is Crawford's small. You think about it though, Duran was a former lightweight and he was able to beat Iran Barkley eventually, right? So it's not out of the question. And this Canelo is not the prime Canelo. This Canelo is also a Canelo who's trying to steal bags while half-assing it. When Canelo has been put in tough situations in the moments where he's had to really dig down, what has he done? He hasn't really dug down and gone for broke in fights where he's been losing. He just kind of accepted the loss.
Like
We
which
saw
one?
that
Like Bivol?
we saw that with Floyd too. Early on with Floyd too. People will say that he was young, but he never really took a risk in the Floyd fight after once he was outclassed. He just accepted it, like, all right, this guy's outclassing me.
Mm.
With B-ball, it's worse because B-ball now you're in your prime and you can't use the excuse that you were inexperienced. You physically saw and mentally saw this guy's better than me, and you made a conscious decision not to take a risk.
Mm.
I'm gonna just go the distance and I'm gonna be happy to do it. Made a conscious decision. That exposed a lot because ever since then, he lowered his level of opposition tremendously.
Mm.
Okay. So um I look at that and I see. Remember what I said about Crawford earlier in this interview. He is a guy who's reminds me of Floyd, and that he stays hungry, motivated, and wants to still be the best. Has that mean streak in the ring. Not to say that Canelo doesn't have a mean streak, but I feel like once you start punching Canelo a few times in the face, that mean streak ain't so mean anymore. You know what I mean?
Mm.
He punks out a little bit. So while Crawford, I feel like wants to go for the gusto. That doesn't mean to me that Crawford wins because he's small, but I'm just saying I believe more now that Crawford can win than I did originally when this was first being talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to see Crawford win because I feel like if Canelo gets this payday, which is going to be a big payday, and then also gets the win out of it, it's just too much of a reward for outright ducking Benavidez and being allowed to duck his mandatory contender while holding all the belts hostages at 168 pounds for so long and not letting that weight class run its course the way it should. And being allowed to do that because the politics of the sport allowed to do that. So I feel like for the good of boxing, and this isn't Mexican hate because obviously, because I know the way debates today are. As soon as you touch somebody of a different race, automatically you hate those people of that race. You know, if I was a black guy, I get it from black people, I get it from Asians, from Pacquiao, I get it from the Mexicans, from Canelo. It's a lot of betas today. But so it's not about that. But I feel like it's for the better of boxing if Crawford wins because Crawford went about his career the right way. Crawford went about his career trying to chase the best all the time. You know what I mean? Trying to fight the best fighters all the time. And I feel like, he wasn't always able to acquire them because of promotional boundaries. But, you know, I feel like he's constantly testing himself. That Madrimov fight to me was really, really impressive. Madrimov is a very good fighter, man. I think it was such a high level chess match that it goes over people's heads a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
When he fought against Madrimov, which was neck and neck right there, that fight could have even been a draw. It was close. But what he showed in the Madrimov fight to me is more impressive than any of his dominant wins because that was a very difficult fight, high level chess, and to be able to hold that concentration in your mid 30s against this young high IQ fighter with explosive and naturally bigger fighter, that was impressive to me. That was really really impressive. I don't know if he's too small for Canelo. He maybe, but Canelo's definitely nothing near the ability Crawford has. Crawford may be better than Canelo out of the right-handed stance, and that's not even his main stance, right? Crawford mainly is a southpaw, right? I think Crawford is more versatile even in one stance than Canelo is. But is he is he too small? One thing I noticed in the Madrimov fight, Crawford had to give a lot more ground than he usually does. And Canelo, I'm not saying he maybe is hungry, but in the Golovkin rematch, held his ground a lot and pressed and cuts. And one thing Canelo does do well, he cuts off the ring well. So can you take away the spacing of the smaller guy who may need to use the spacing because he's so much smaller? I don't know. We'll see. It's an interesting fight. I just feel like if the right thing is supposed to happen every once in a while in this freaking world, which it never does, feel like Crawford is supposed to win this fight. It's just a favorite of boxing for the way he went about his career and the way Canelo went about his career.
Do you think Canelo is and I'm only bringing this up because you talked about Crawford's skills, right? Do you think Canelo is that much different than he was when he lost to Floyd?
No, I don't think there's a lot of. I don't think he's got any other wrinkles that I've seen. You know, I mean, he goes to the body well. He was known as a body puncher back then. Never had much of a jab back then. Still never developed much of a jab. A jab bothers him then. A jab bothers him now. Um, he went up in weight, failed some PED tests. That may be some of the reason why he went up in weight and held his power. Who knows? Um, I don't see a lot of versatility. You know, I always thought Canelo was a pretty good fighter, even a world class fighter. Obviously, I'm not doubting that. Um, but if you take away the wins that he probably robbed, maybe 3, 4 fights,
Lara.
he's not on the pound for pound list. He's not the star he is today, and he's probably going gone and retired. Nobody would care at this point. But because he was able to be given wins in key moments to keep this thing going, this manufactured thing going, now we find ourselves here in a situation where he's holding the undisputed title hostage, and he's able to make super fight with Crawford.
Yeah.
He doesn't get those wins, he's probably gone by now. You know what I mean? Like he's hanging around. He wins, he'll win, he'll lose. You know, but he's probably gone by now. And he'll have probably had a pretty good career. I think Canelo would have been a world champion regardless. I just don't think he would have been the star unless you manufactured it in the way that it was. But that's what boxing is becoming. I think something where they keep manufacturing stars more so than they should, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it's a beautiful sport with a lot of talented fighters in every generation. And if they would just let it play out, I think it would it could become the most popular sport ever, man. I mean, the most popular sport in the world, and that's saying a lot. But I watch these fights, bro. I'm here in my little world at Pro Box. I watch these fights. There are constantly so many good fights we have, and I'm like, man, if only the regular world would just see these kind of fights consistently from boxing. Even at world class level, you can make them. You just got to make the matches. Everybody would watch boxing, dude. Everybody would do it, you know, because you can't take your eyes off it when it's at its best. You can't. But it's just like it's just not at its best on an often enough time, you know.
Yeah. You think Crawford can make it look as, and again, I know this is a bigger Canelo, so different fight, but does he have enough skill to make it look as easy as Floyd made it look? Like Floyd made it look easy.
Um, um, it's bigger. It's a bigger Canelo now, but it's an older Canelo. I think it's even less hungry Canelo. Um, I think he has enough skills. I'll say this: I think Madrimov is more skilled than Canelo.
Mm.
Okay, and Madrimov was giving Crawford a lot of stress because of his IQ was able to match Crawford, and it was really a battle of IQ as well as a battle of boxing. Neither guy was busting position. Both guys were constantly balanced. Both guys' attacks didn't leave a lot of daylight for counter openings, you know, which were there, but they were taken in small doses. It was a very tactical fight, sort of like Bitterbiev and Bivol. You know what I mean? I think tactically Madrimov is better than Canelo. I think he is. Um, I think probably hungry wise, Madrimov is probably hungrier than Canelo, but Canelo is stronger and he cuts off the ring probably a little better, and and he's bigger. So we'll see.
Yeah.
See.
So